Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unlearn with Bianca. On this podcast, we explore everything around self healing, health, personal growth, the mind body connection, relationships, and more. If you are new here, then welcome. And if you are a returning listener, an OG listener, welcome back and thank you for being here. In this episode, I am speaking directly to those of you who feel like currently you are either you're going through a difficult season, or you have lost your spark. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in the last 3 months, I'd say, especially in the last month, I've been having so many conversations with people that just really feel like they're going through it emotionally. And that can be due to changes externally, things that are out of people's control. But also, I think a lot of people are growing internally, and that is reflecting in their external reality. So things that once worked, ways of being, maybe ways of showing up at work and relationships, they just now feel like they're not working as smoothly anymore, or they're not having the same result. And that in itself can really just bring challenges and just feel like things are difficult. I mean, even me in the last few weeks, I feel like I've had a few of those moments. July is typically more challenging month for me because it's coming up to my mum's death anniversary, and we are in the middle of winter here in New Zealand. As much as I would like to say the body, you can push forward and the body doesn't keep the score, the body definitely keeps the score. And it's always just so interesting to me 5 years later, just how much my body does remember grief and a certain time of the year. So I give myself lots of patience, but also I was having a few days last week where the things I'm working towards just felt so far away. Sometimes they feel really close, and I'm like, oh, I'm so close to like this next, unlocking this next version and more things that I want in my life. And then other days it feels far away. So I went back to the basics, and that is what I'm going to take you guys through today, because my perspective is when it comes to difficult seasons and difficult feelings, they are an opportunity to look at what's working for us and what's not. They are an opportunity to honor our emotions. However, I also believe in taking action and moving forward when the time is right. So today I just want to give you some mindsets and perspectives and things you might need to hear when you are going through a hard time. I just want to move you more into the space of openness and curiosity, and remind you that also, we all have our moments for sure, and that you are not alone. So the first thing I really want you to know, and I really want you to hear when you're moving through a bit of a tough time, is stop fighting your current reality. One thing that I have really learned to practice, and I have said this on previous podcasts, so you guys probably have heard this drilled in before, but I think it's really important that we practice radical acceptance, or we work towards practicing acceptance of either a situation, a scenario, or our emotions about that. By practicing radical acceptance, it doesn't mean that you approve of what's currently happening. It doesn't mean you have to like the current situation. You don't have to agree with it. It doesn't mean you're not going to work to change things. It means that you are simply looking at what is currently going on, and you are acknowledging what is true and what is. Now, I know this sounds like a bit of a simple concept, but it's actually not, because a lot of the time we spend so much of our energy arguing with reality. We say things internally like, oh, this shouldn't have happened. Why did this happen? It shouldn't feel like this. I should be over it by now. I shouldn't be feeling this way about this. All of that is going against either how you feel or a situation, and that is requiring more. And I have learned through all my trials and tribulations that resistance often creates more suffering than the situation itself. And I know it can be really hard to see something for what it is, because our brain is going to want to divert us into all the things we could have done differently to avoid this, or what if that was a different way, and that and that and that. But there is so much peace and clarity that comes with acceptance. Peace and clarity that comes with getting to this point where it's like, I don't like this currently, but this is where I'm at today. It's from this place that you can really own your feelings instead of judging them, because so often I find that we just judge ourselves for feeling a certain type of way. Like, you're allowed to have your feeling, and you're human. You've got to give yourself that. Sometimes with acceptance, it can take a while to get to that point, because the brain and body can take a while to process what you're moving through. It doesn't necessarily happen instantly. That could be if you're moving through like burnout or heartbreak or redundancy, for example. And we have to give ourselves that patience and that space to emotionally catch up, rather than just force ourselves to move on or to get back to normal. So acceptance of what is sounds simple, but I think it's a massive step when you're feeling like shit, when you're going through it. Accept that this is a phase, accept that this is how you feel, accept that this thing has happened, and give yourself that permission. Okay, the next thing I want you to remember is that biology overpowers willpower. So if you have lost your spark, if you're going through it, if you're feeling a bit tired and deflated, please, please, please stop telling yourself day in, day out that you're lazy, you're unmotivated, and you're not trying hard enough, because that is just not true. And the more that thought is repeated, the more that there is a perceived threat to the brain, because remember, self-compassion is really good for our nervous system state, and beating ourselves up is not good for us. It's another threat. So I want you to remember that our biology takes over. You can't simply think yourself out of a survival mode all of the time. When you've been under emotional stress, prolonged pressure, uncertainty, even like physical stress and illness, our body is going to shift its priority. It's not thinking about how can I keep you feeling inspired today. It's actually just asking, how can I keep you safe? And that's when it shuts down things like joy and confidence and decision making and motivation. So really, like, to go back to basics when you're going through it, what I want you to know on this point is to give yourself patience. Know that your nervous system is making no mistakes. As I've said time and time again, it's going into energy conservation mode. It's going into protection mode. But one thing you can do, especially on those days that are hard, one question you can ask yourself is, what one thing does my body need from me right now? Ask the question and wait for the response, because I can guarantee your body is intelligent. It has this wisdom that if you give it some space, if you allow for a pause, listen intently and carefully, it will give you the answer. It might be saying, I need rest. I need rest. I know you've got a lot on your plate, but I just need half an hour of just undisturbed peace with no scrolling. I need you to rest without feeling guilty. The body might be saying, I need you to cut back on that sugary shit you've been eating. Go to the supermarket, get some proper ingredients, and just have a good breakfast. Have a proper breakfast. It's just going to speak with tiny whispers. And if we're at that baseline, it's usually going to come back to like our physical needs. When I was feeling a little bit off last week, I started asking my body what it needed every morning for about 4 days. And on one day, when I would usually go to the gym, I really needed, what my body needed was nature. So instead of going to the gym, I continued to drive past the gym, and I went to the other side of town to the beach. I got out of the car. It was very cold. I committed to it. I put my feet in the sand. I sat there for half an hour as the sun was rising, and I had no input, no podcast, no music. I just sat there, presence, and I left feeling so much lighter. It's exactly what I needed. My body was speaking. I listened and I took action. the next day, I asked myself what I needed. I needed some connection. I realized that I had been working from home too much, that I had not been out of my work bubble for a few days. So I messaged a friend, told her how I was feeling. She was feeling the same way. So we went for a walk. We had a laugh. We had a chit chat. We had a complain. We had a vent. We had everything that you get when you get two women together. But yeah, that connection was priceless. And I just felt like I had so much more of a full tank after that. So remember, when you give your body the space to come back and really honor what it needs, it's going to tell you, and you're starting to build that connection. And that is when I say listening to your body, that is it. It's just the constant check-ins and starting there, especially if we're going through a difficult time, because when we are really going through a difficult time, that creative thinking, that problem solving, it's harder to access when we are moving through hard things and when we are moving fast. So we have to create that space to really slow down and check in. And that leads nicely into the next point that I need to remind you guys of. You do not have to conquer the year. You do not have to conquer the month. You don't even have to conquer the week sometimes. You just have to conquer the day. You do not need to have all of the answers or a big plan, especially if you are navigating a challenging season. All you need is the next step ahead. And if you're not somebody who typically likes being spontaneous, if you're someone who likes a plan, who likes control, who likes having everything sorted, if you're forced into this season where you can only think of a day at a time or a week at a time, that is learning. That is character development, okay? I learned this through my difficult seasons. I used to be someone who liked to have everything in control. I liked to have a big plan. My plans never went to plan. I was always thrown in the deep end. So I learned actually it's okay to not think too far ahead. It's okay with just thinking a day ahead, a week ahead when you need to. And that's such a powerful, powerful, powerful skill to be able to have, because it means you're adaptable and you become flexible. So yeah, if you're currently only able to see a week ahead at a time, that's okay. Be with that. Know that that is okay. Don't be pulled into other people's conversations around, yeah, what are you going to be doing next year? What are you going to be doing in 6 months? But don't you have a plan for that? But haven't you thought about this? Tell them I'm not there yet. That's not where I am mentally. I'm just taking things one step at a time. It's just so important to remember that. Don't be put off by other people's perceptions. You're on your own pathway and you're on your own timeline and you are moving at your own speed. It's very important to know when we're going through something difficult. Now, my next point is to take stock of how far you have come. Where you are standing right now on, what is the date? The 6th of July, 2026, as I record this. This time, this place, what you have in your life right now, the things that are going on for you, I can almost guarantee that at one point in your life years ago, this point right now would have been the goal. You would have been thinking, oh my God, I wish I could have a family. I wish I could have a partner. I wish I could have a job. I wish I could have this kind of income. I wish I could just get through the day with more comfort or more energy if you'd been navigating illness. There are so many things we have once wished for that we're now living and we don't appreciate, partly because of the way the brain works, but partly because we don't stop to actually think about how far we have come. When you have lost your spark, when you're going through a difficult season, it is so easy to zoom in on what is not working, what's missing, what feels hard, what you're not doing, what you think you should be doing. But I want you to zoom out and I want you to start looking for different things. Notice where you have grown to get to this point you're at today. Maybe notice what you have survived to get to this point today. Notice what you no longer carry or what you've had to let go of to get to this point today. There are so many bits of progress that you just won't have noticed just to get to where you're at today. And that's not to take it away from maybe the difficult, challenging season you're going through right now. But what I'm saying is, me and you both have navigated every single one of our difficult days to get to this point. So we have to draw on some of that. We have to draw on some of that resilience. We have to draw on some of that evidence. It just gives us perspective. When I think back to being in the midst of chronic illness, I remember like sobbing daily, thinking about how am I ever going to get through this? How is it possible that I can even have a day of comfort, praying that at some point there'd be some kind of relief somehow. I think about my journey through grief on some of the hardest days where I didn't even know how I'd get through the hour, let alone the week. I was praying for some kind of relief to see the next step unfold in front of me. And I always find it so interesting that we can have so much evidence that we have navigated such hard stuff. Yet when we are in the hamster wheel of life, we just forget that these experiences even existed, or we get back into our typical day-to-day complaining about things that feel minor in comparison to things that we once maybe moved through. So yeah, just pulling yourself out, zooming out, and really just noticing like, what do I have right now today? What have I had to go through to get to this point? Or what do I have in my life that once I would have just been praying for, I would have been asking for? Because a nervous system that only focuses on what's wrong will always feel like it's in a threat. It's only from this place of really giving ourselves credit as to like how far we've come or what we do have appreciation for, that we can further step into that state of gratitude to really find things in our life that are currently going well. And the more that you're able to zoom out and get that perspective, even in the hard times, the faster that you can get into the state of appreciation and gratitude the next time that you have a challenge. I don't care what I'm navigating in life, what challenge I'm moving through, how I'm feeling. I am not going a week without coming back to appreciation for what I do have. Things like my health. I am so grateful for having a comfortable, healthy body. And wherever you're at with your health right now, even if you have got some symptoms, I want you to think about one thing that you're grateful for in terms of your health. Might be just that your body is running millions of processes per day to keep you alive. Like, isn't that's amazing? That is incredible. And so many people take it for granted. I have my freedom. I get to wake up and choose I get to wake up and choose what I do with my day. Like, how lucky am I to have freedom? So when we zone out, when we get perspective, we can come back to these amazing things that we do have. Again, it's not to take it away from challenges. It's actually just to balance the picture out. Gratitude isn't pretending that things are good when they're not. It's not denying the hard stuff. It's not forcing positivity over pain. It's just a state that helps your nervous system come out of a threat response and back into receptivity again. If I'm moving through a hard season, but I purposely take 5 minutes before I leave the house to really tune into the small, tiny things I'm grateful for, that is going to shift my frequency before I've even walked out the door. I move into my day with an open body posture. I move into my day with perspective. I move into my day with a smile on my face. That might change someone else's day, and then from there have a flow on effect. I never underestimate the power of gratitude. It is so, so powerful. It changes our frequency. That's a whole other conversation. And from an energetic perspective, actually, I came across a little TikTok by a creator called Kendall Singer, and she was just talking about perspective and gratitude. Your life is a dream to millions. Okay. 500 million currently today are fighting cancer. 173,000 did not wake up this morning. 80 million can't walk. 300 million can't see color. 430 million can't hear. Okay, put that into perspective. People would die to have the problems that we have. I just found this so needed when I came across it. I really needed that perspective shift, and that gave me it. And I think one of the greatest things we can do is continually give ourselves the opportunity to zone out, to take perspective, and to really just tune into what is important for us. Like, really get clear about where we want to put our energy, where it's useful and where it's not useful and out of our control. Okay, so moving on, I also believe that when we're going through hard times, when we're going through stuckness, if it persists, it can be a really good reflection and audit point. If there is a prolonged feeling of stuckness, we get this opportunity to really ask, what is no longer working? Or what am I pretending not to know, which has been nagging and I haven't wanted to look at it? Can be an opportunity for us to really explore beliefs that are running beneath the surface that are not aligned with the next version of us. There will be thought loops that might be running in the background that we've been so unaware of that are driving us into this stuckness, that are maintaining stories and emotions. And this is what I help my clients do. Like, you can get so much support around this to look at from a different perspective, from someone else's perspective, your blind spots. Yeah. I have really come to appreciate other people's perspectives and other people's opinions on things that I might be missing in my own life. For a long time, I was not that way inclined. I felt like it was not welcomed, other people's feedback, but I love it now. And I love people helping me find my own blind spots. And I was with a friend the other night, and when I was feeling a bit stuck, and she offered a perspective that I hadn't really considered before. She's like, I sense this belief under the stuckness that you have a fear of it actually working out. And I sat with that. I thought about what she said, and I tuned into it. And yeah, I there was some truth in there. I have had many times in the past where I've built momentum and things have really started to feel good, and then life has happened and it's been what feels like taken away from me, or things have the trajectory has shifted very quickly. So I realized that there was a belief, a subconscious belief, that I hadn't put too much of my energy into that point. So rather than blaming myself, rather than criticizing myself, now what I know to do when these things come up is I nurture that part of me. And I go back to the age of when that belief would have been formed, or the stage, and I have a few processes to go through that, which again I work with my clients to go through that. And rather than pushing this feeling of fear aside, I work with it. I am compassionate towards it. I practice patience with it. I talk to it as if it is the age where this belief took hold. I'm working with this part of me rather than pushing it away. I'm reassuring this part of me. That comes down to like what I'm telling myself internally. The reason I bring this up is because when we're going through stuckness, it can actually be a really pivotal time to examine, like, what are the stories I'm telling myself beneath this? What are the beliefs that are still running, that are coming up time and time again, and I keep getting stuck against? It is only in some of my most challenging seasons that I have been able to evaluate beliefs, because you get to that point where you're like, something is not working, something has got to change. It was only when I was continuing to find myself mulling over everyone else's feelings, completely stuck and impacted by everyone else's feelings, that I saw that as an opportunity to work on my own state, that I saw that as an opportunity to start to become a thermostat rather than a thermometer, meaning I set the tone, I set my state rather than being dragged around by everybody else's states, realizing that other people can trigger me into a state, but no one has control over my emotions if I have self-regulation. These lessons have only come when I've been moving through challenging times, and I've really sat there and thought, this is not working anymore. I need to show up differently. There must be different choices. What I'm trying to get at here is, like, don't underestimate the self-growth that can come when you are navigating stuckness and challenges. If it was easy the whole time, we wouldn't be growing, and we're here to evolve. We're here to learn. Our ability to bounce back and to find our baseline again through challenge, that becomes faster and faster if we use each challenge as an opportunity to grow from it. I hope you guys have taken a few things to really think about and just to pull you back into this present moment and have a bit more curiosity. As we wrap this episode up, I really just want to remind you that we live on a floating rock. Our time here is precious. We're all human. We all go through our emotions and our feelings and our ups and downs. But I really just want to remind you that nothing is permanent. No feeling, shame, grief, guilt, no feeling is going to remain as strong throughout your entire existence. I know sometimes it might feel that way, but I promise that things shift and change over time. And there are so many opportunities that do come through our struggles. If it wasn't for the low moments, we would not appreciate the highs. And remember that, like, sometimes just these feelings are just a signal for us to force us to evolve and change into something new, which I do recommend you listening to my previous episode on why you start holding on, because that could be very closely interlinked to this episode as well. I always, always, always remember, and I want to remind you this, that you are yet to have some of the best experiences in your life. You are one meeting away from meeting somebody who could completely change your life. You are one choice away from heading in a different direction. There are always possibilities. And if we can stay in this energy as much as possible and trust in the path ahead and the lessons that come, you will be in a good place. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and if you are moving through it, I'm with you. You are not alone. My DMs are always open. And yeah, reach out if you need some support. Take care, and I will see you on the next episode.